Good evening and welcome to the People's Platform. Our topic of discussion tonight is cracking down on the war on drugs. We are joined by Mr. Pubudu Sumanasekara, Executive Director of the Alcohol and Drug Information Centre, or ADIC. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening.
Mr. Sumanasekara, over the past few months, we have seen an extreme sensationalization across media platforms of drug use, drug abuse, specifically with the targeted substrata of students, school-going children. Let's talk about firstly the dangers of the sensationalization of drug use and to the problem itself.
Yes, unfortunately, as you said, we are exposed to lots of different type of media news. Whether you read something in the newspaper or sometimes you get social media type of post and all, and sometimes it may be electronic media. So the words they use to describe the issue, and sometimes the images even. And at the same time, even the facts and figures were mostly wrong. So unfortunately what happened was that maybe some people think that they are trying to do something good to the society by putting such a news like that. But we have to be very careful, because these kind of news and kind of information is very sensitive to children and young people. As you correctly said, most of the news and the kind of other information circulated telling that the young children are taking this much of young people, this much of students, particular school, particular area. Unfortunately, when you really check it, the particular drug name, that chemical was not there most of the time. Maybe some other kind of drug, which maybe was there for some time even. It was not a kind of sudden issue. But this curiosity development among people, young people and the parents and authorities, whoever. And at the end, what happened was it negatively affected the children in the country.
Right.
The one reason is that, as I said, it develops unnecessary attention among them. They are so keen to watch the news that. And it gives wrong facts and figures, making a kind of the use generalized sometime, like 20%, 30%, 50%. Students are using this in particular school or that particular area or in the universities, whatever. Those are wrong. So, and ultimately what happened was that it gives a kind of idea that the whole country is under such a situation where most of or the majority of young people are into the drug, which is not correct, which is completely incorrect, and the false facts and figures. So the negative impact was it takes time to remove such wrong impressions from the young people's mind. And at the same time, even though you give correct facts and figures, and now people doubt about it. Is that so? Because in that report it was like this, that particular report it was like that. And how can we believe what is the correct situation? But fortunately, what I want to tell you today is that today, now we are talking after like few weeks. Now we can see that there's not much different happen. Like there's no such a kind of disaster happen in the country. But what happened was that, as I said, the unnecessary attraction developed about the drug. There are two things, about the drug as well as the drug user. So today we know by statistics, Sri Lanka is a country where the tobacco is declining highly. Like if you compare it with 80s and today, so the tobacco consumption has gone down almost to 50%. So that is proven by the statistics, because the number of sticks manufactured going down by 50%. And from the other surveys, the consumption patterns, if you check, that has gone down. So you can see it in the kind of public areas. People rarely smoke today, which is true. That is one thing. And the other thing is the heroin. We have been talking about heroin since 1970s. So even heroin use is not rapidly increasing at the moment. It is maintaining the situation. So, and alcohol, it's going up and down, fluctuate. If you can remember, every time that this kind of news come to the public and to the news agencies and the media, and then after some time it goes down. And if you really observe in the future, you will see that after like 6 months time or more than that, another name will come. So this is also a kind of propaganda which the illegal drug dealers can't have kind of ordinary promotional strategies. So they from time to time use strategies like this, sometimes spreading false news and getting the kind of attention and putting it to media, because the media and general public are so sensitive to this. So they know that very well. So that is why even you talk to National Dangerous Drug Control Board, the reported cases are there. When they check the kind of particular drug and the kind of usage, it is very, very low. The reality is low, because that we also sometimes, without knowing, trapped by those people who are strategically trying to promote this through the media. So that is what happened to ICE last 2 months, because people, I mean, the trap to this kind of strategies, everybody started talking about this. Do you think if they pay to such a kind of advertisement or kind of propaganda in the media, how much money they had to spend? They haven't spent a single cent today, but got the kind of attention to the particular drug and with young people. So it is spreading everywhere. So that is also a strategy used by the illegal drug users. Therefore, that is why we always say that we have to be very careful when you get a kind of information without clarifying, better not to put it into the media. Even to our personal kind of FB post or WhatsApp or wherever.
Sure. So there is a danger of disinformation, misinformation being spread in Sri Lanka, especially when we take the war on drugs. I'd like to connect this to a more socio-political issue as well. If we take successive governments, it has been in their political manifestos to end the war on drugs. So this has been like a very clear slogan.
Catchy slogan.
Very catchy slogan, exactly. So this issue is also connected to the political kind of mafia, if I may use that word, as well. What are your thoughts on that? Is this a political issue?
Of course, yes, it is. It is, because in 2 ways. One is that we know globally there are treaties and kind of laws and regulations to control the drugs in the global level, in the UN level, United Nations. And we as a country, we have signed many.
Yes.
So, and we abide by those rules and regulations to control the particular drugs coming into the country, trafficking, spreading and everything. So, it's a political issue when it comes to supply of that. And we as a country responsible even to the region sometime, because our country, because of the strategic location of the country, that geographically,
it is a transit point.
It's a transit point. So other countries, the traffickers, the peddlers use our country, Sri Lanka, as a kind of transit point. So automatically what happens is that when any country face such a situation, that some amount of drugs are coming to the local also.
Yeah.
So therefore it's a political issue how best the particular government is controlling this.
Yeah.
And how best the Police Narcotic Bureau and the customs and the other relevant authorities are working on it. So it's really a political issue. And from the other hand, historically, culturally, we are a kind of country where the majority of people are non-users, even today. Even today, the majority of the population, even after, above 18 years, they are non-users. So therefore, we have experienced lots of issues because of the colonial period. They introduced alcohol into the country. We had somewhat alcohol culture, but it was not that harmful. But during the colonial period, it introduced as a kind of thing that everybody should do. So it's a kind of thing that value in that particular culture. So then we experience the negative impact of it. And therefore we as a country, the people are looking at how the consumption patterns are going up or it is going down. And we know the negative impact of all type of drug use, all type of drug use, like tobacco, not only to the user, and there because of the passive smoking, it affects to the others also. Therefore, as a kind of global measures, the tobacco has a kind of very good control measure. We call it Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. Because of that, the countries are responsible to control tobacco starting from the growing. So it is happening now. And if you can remember, some time back we did not have those pictorial warnings in the packs. Now we have it.
Yeah.
And now we are heading for a kind of, we call it plain packaging, the different packagings. So that is because of all these kind of international type of regulations too. So what I want to tell you is that even people are thinking of what is happening to tobacco consumption in the country. What about alcohol? Because alcohol causes lots of social issues. It is not like tobacco. Alcohol is a big issue when it comes to the families and the neighborhood. And all these kind of disputes and unnecessary type of fighting among gangs and the groups. So the alcohol fuels that. So therefore people are sensitive to these kind of things. And heroin, cannabis, cocaine, hashish or ice, that also people know by experience, like illegal alcohol and legal alcohol, somewhat political involvement are there. Because we know that these are kind of products which makes money. So irrespective of the parties, the general public knows that the politicians who are involved this kind of product, this kind of marketing, shares of the companies, or who is always trying to, cover up the illegal alcohol issue in the country or illegal drug issue in the country. So it is very, very political. So I think some time back, even the tobacco control make a huge political interest.
Absolutely.
Right? Which is good in that sense. So then the political leaders and politicians are pushed to do the correct thing. But there are things that which not really happened even this moment in the economic crisis. I think you also had a kind of dialogue, discussion about that. The tobacco tax has not been increased yet. Every tax has imposed to the correct level. Why not about tobacco tax? So it's a political issue.
Yeah,
Right.
and massive lobby groups.
Massive lobby groups. So, and at the same time, the other angle also there, because this, today we call it addiction industry. addiction industry is legal and illegal both.
Okay.
So I told you that the tobacco is declining. Then some people want to make a kind of claim that yes, tobacco is declining, but the other drugs are increasing. Because the tobacco type of industry would like to show the people that even though the tobacco is declining, see, other drugs are increasing, which is not correct, scientifically not correct. And at the same time, it is really funny that when we observe this kind of news these days and the YouTube channels and all, there was a program, it appears as protecting people from taking ice, the particular drug people are talking today. But in the right hand side, in the screen, the logo is the cannabis logo. So the cannabis lobby is using this issue to tell that cannabis is okay, but ice is so dangerous, like that. So in the addiction industry, they take the advantage among how these things are, going up and down and fluctuating in the particular country. So we have to be very careful.
It's very nuanced, right?
Of course, yes. So we have to be very careful. Maybe sometimes people appeared as, they are on behalf of children to protect them or whatever, but at the same time, they are promoting something else.
Right, so vested interest.
Vested interest. So that is also, again, political.
Right.
In that sense.
Sure. The difference in the conversation we would have had a decade ago and now is that now we see in Sri Lanka the introduction of party drugs, psychotropic substances, methamphetamine, etc. And this is a very common feature in Colombo's nightlife, in other areas of Sri Lanka as well. There are laws to deal with these psychotropic substances as there are for the other drugs. However, when it comes to implementation, there are issues that are faced. How do you view this aspect as someone who has been working in this industry for so long?
Yeah. About this party type of drugs and the nightlife and the nightclub type of drugs, it has been there for many years.
Yeah.
And the other thing we should understand is that those specific type of drugs used for nightclubs or parties or whatever, for earning money, they don't want to make it cheap. They want to keep the level, the price of the particular drug to the level that they can earn money. Money in the sense not like other goods, selling a small amount of and earning a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
So therefore the one thing is that those type of drugs, they don't want to make it a kind of street type of drug.
Right. So the exclusivity is maintained.
They want to maintain that exclusive type of image of the particular drug, otherwise they can't sell it. So that is one thing. And the other thing is, when it comes to the control part of it, like as I said, there are laws and regulations coming from the international treaties which we have signed. And inside the country we have many authorities. Police Narcotic Bureau is there. And when it comes to alcohol, National Authority on Tobacco and Alcohol, that authority is there. To prevent and control the things in the country, that National Dangerous Drug Control Board is there. And customs are everywhere, things are coming and going out of the country. So, relatively as a country, we have very good laws. I would say effective ones, most technically correct ones we have. And implementation part, every country there are issues. The problem is that this involves lots of money. And we know that even the implementers of the law, the particular officers, human beings. So the traffickers knows how to tackle this with the control authorities. So they are very keen, vigilant, sensitive, and they study even. They study who is the boss there, who is the authority, the chairman or whoever, and what is happening in the ground level. So every country, the drug trade, the traffickers, they always trying their best to get friendly with those authorities and the people who are implementing the law. That is because they know that they are doing something illegal. And when something is illegal, when there are authorities to control it, automatically the kind of value of the particular product is always high. That we can't control. So therefore, as a country, that our authorities are working to the maximal level they can. But at the same time, from time to time, as we heard, there are loopholes. And there are things that reported which sometimes you can't believe. Like the particular authority or the particular officers who are responsible for controlling or raiding or implementing the law even engage with such activities. That happens in the world. So only thing is that we have to be country that to what level the corruption is happening. It is like any other areas, the corruption is there, but we have to be very careful to what level that is going to happen, what level it is happening at the moment. So one good thing is that we always heard that this much of kilos were raided, this much of kilos were caught up by the police or some other authorities. That is a kind of good sign that something is implementing. But when it comes to illegal products, which you can't measure is that if that much amount is now with the police, how much amount actually released? That is very difficult to measure. But there we need a kind of community and the responsible citizens, everybody, because you can't control this through only the authorities. This is everybody's responsibility, starting from the young children and the students up to the level of academics and the professionals. If everybody everybody does the work according to, as we call it, the responsible way, so then there will be a kind of good control. In that sense, I think even with this many news about ice and other kind of drugs, that Sri Lanka, I think, in a kind of better position today in comparison to other countries in the region. That's a good thing.
Okay. And also, Mr. Somanasekara, the demonizing of an issue, that's something that in Sri Lanka we sort of grapple with. For example, instead of demonizing this drug menace, if we could instead educate the public on the effects of drugs, the ill effects, what will actually happen to you, what will happen to your family if you get addicted to this. And you categorize it and in a scientific manner disseminate this information to the public in all three languages. Isn't that a better way of going about it, instead of scaring people, frightening people and creating so much of chaos?
You step into a very important area when it comes to the demand reduction and education about all type of drugs. Correct. Me too agree, as an experienced person in this field. By research and other kind of surveys, it has been proven that if you make anything like, if you are always talking about only the danger of it, maybe sometimes even ill effects only, and sometimes hazardous kind of effects to the society, and as you said, demonizing it, and like scary type of messages or whatever, unfortunately sometimes small group of people in the society attract to those kind of things. You know that there are some people that they would like to do dangerous things and to show that nothing happened to me. And some people, if others say that, oh, it's scary and you should not touch it, it's so dangerous, whatever, there is a group of people who would like to touch it and do it and say that nothing happened to me. So therefore we always now say that talking too much about demonizing, talking about the dangerous effect of it, kind of things, may not get the real results of it. So therefore what you should do is that to tell the truth, as you said, tell the effects. And the other thing is, you know that even the illegal drug industry or even the legal one sometimes like to have such an image to the drug. This is dangerous, don't touch it, right? Because they know that the young mentality always try to get the challenge.
Yeah, there's an aura of mystery about it.
Mystery about it. And they would like to take the challenge and they would like to tell others that because the particular guy become a hero then. So therefore, what we should do is to open up the real issue and tell what is real in it. If I give you an example, that there are lots of myths and misconceptions around the effect of drug.
Okay.
Right? So, some time back, I will tell you the kind of example that everybody mostly heard about, right? About heroin, many years back. Some media and some stories, teledramas started talking about that. If you take the particular drug, you would like to see the blood. Completely rubbish, right? And sometimes say that you will see a kind of different colorful worlds, like illusions. Completely wrong. This is because that unnecessarily people do not have much education and the knowledge about how to do the prevention part. They are trying to do it, but they are doing more harm to the society than the good.
Yeah.
So therefore, today we are telling the truth about it to the young people and the children. There is nothing much to, talk about it. It's just a drug. And even the young ones and anybody in the society can understand that those kind of effects are actually limited to that subculture.
Right.
It is not a common belief and it is not according to the science even. But they do it, they say it. And even some other people can just observe and understand what nonsense. It never happens. But they are just talking about it because they glamorize their own use. And unfortunately, it happens to media also. I know that many print and the electronic media, even the social media believes that interviewing a person who had the experience is the best. That is completely wrong because it is like, Sonali, if you interview a person who is really scared about ghosts and asking, have you seen any ghost? Yes, I have seen. It was like this, it was like that. Because that is his own belief. It is not the real and the reality of it. So therefore, confessions of the drug users are not a kind of educational tool anyway. Because they always glamorize it, they always tell the positive side of it, they always tell that what made them to continuously use it.
Right.
And those are not the facts and figures found by the science and the scientist. It is different. It is because the particular user would like to generalize and justify the usage of it.
Right.
And without knowing, without having any knowledge about the drug, the particular person may even writing it in a paper, like glamorizing it more and more. So the people who are reading it, getting a completely wrong picture.
Deeply problematic.
Deeply problematic. Deeply problematic.
Okay, thanks very much. We're going for a short commercial break. We'll be right back.
ගම්මැද්දෙන් මේ ජල ව්‍යාපෘතියක් අපිට ලබා දීලා මේ ලොකු පිනක් කරගත්තා කියලා අපි කියන්නේ. ඒකෙන් අදටත් මේ ඇත්තම කියනවා නම් මේ දැන් මේ නාන තොටුපළවල් වල් වැදිලා. ඒ කියන්නේ මිනිස්සු දැන් නාන්නෙත් ගෙවල් වල වතුර උඩින්. මේ අපිට ඒක දීපයක නම් සෑහෙන මේ පින් සිද්ධ වෙන වැඩක් කියලා මම නම් කියන්නේ මේ ගම්මැද්ද ප්‍රධාන
ගම්මැද්ද for the people by the people.
වැදගත්ම දෙයක් තමයි ඒ ලැබෙන ආදරය සෙනෙහස.
වංචාකරුවා පිට රටක ඉන්නේ නමුත් වංචාවට හසු වෙන්නේ මේ දේශීය ඉන්න පුද්ගලයා.
ඔන්ගෝයින් ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් වලට දෙකමාරක සමාජ ආරක්ෂණ බද්දක් ගැහුවා. ඒකෝට දැන් අපි මේක මිල කරලා නැහැ.
විදලිත තොල සහ තල්ල සහිත දරුවෝ.
මේ ප්‍රතිකාර නිසියාකාරව සිද්ධ වුණොත් 100%ක්ම මේක හරියනවා.
අර නෝමල් මට්ටමට ගේන්න පුළුවන් ලෙවල් එකක් තියෙනවා.
අසිරිමත් නත්තල වෙනුවෙන් රාජගිරිය ශ්‍රී හෘදය දෙවස්ථානයේ පැවැත් වූ
Hearts in Harmony
24 රාත්‍රී 9:30ට TV1 තුලින්.
Do you think there is a deep misunderstanding of the people's distress?
These are things that are organized by the government, that the president had gone and participated in that event. The Bishops' Conference agreed that we are not going to take part in any state Christmas festivals this year. This time we thought that due to this serious situation of our people, we cannot attend state functions because the state itself is in question.
A Newsline Christmas special at 8:20 p.m. this Friday on TV1.
දෙව් සමිඳුන් උදෙසා ගැයෙන ප්‍රසාදවත් කැරොල්ගේ සමගින් සාමයේ කුමරුන්ගේ උපත සමරන නත්තල් මධ්‍යම රාත්‍රී දේව මෙහෙය. කොළඹ අගරදුගුරු අතිඋතුම් මැල්කම් කාදිනල් රංජිත් හිමිපාණන්ගේ ප්‍රධානත්වයෙන් පන්නිපිටිය ක්‍රිස්තුරාජ දේවස්ථානයේ සිට හෙට රාත්‍රී 10:30ට සජීවීව.
Welcome back. We're in conversation with Mr. Pubudu Sumanasekara, the Executive Director of the Alcohol and Drug Information Centre. We're discussing the nuances, the implications of cracking down on the war on drugs, the problems associated with sensationalizing of this issue. Mr. Sumanasekara, let's talk about the psychology behind this. Most people take drugs because they want to escape from their reality. Drugs are a form of escapism. This is a deeply socio-economic issue at every level. Sri Lanka lacks sufficient psychosocial care. Mental health care in Sri Lanka is at an abysmal level. The budgetary allocation for mental health is at an abysmal level. So given these issues, what are we telling people to do?
Yes, countries like us, as you said, if you don't have much resources to reach everybody in the society, in every strata of the society, and many age levels and all. So what is working in the world today is, we call it the whole of society approach.
Okay.
And as you said, that the psychology behind this is also very, very important. As I slightly touched in the beginning, the image of the drug and the image of the drug user is very important, as because that is the thing that sometimes develop curiosity among young people to initiate the particular use.
Right.
So therefore, today we know that the illegal and legal both drug industries, they want to make this kind of drug use is a kind of macho and the kind of rebellious and sometimes cool, whatever thing. But what is behind is that the most of the drugs used in the world commonly are not pleasant chemicals. Those are painful and those are uncomfortable. And that even our viewers can identify any particular drug use. Even the alcohol use after drinking alcohol is in a kind of very discomfort mode. So nobody want to make an effort and spending money and come to such a level.
Yeah.
Just like heroin and cannabis and ice, whoever, whatever the drug. So that is the reality behind this. But we should be able to develop a kind of society, bit critically think of this and to understand that this is a trade. They have their own marketing system. So we don't need to trap by those things. Yeah. And especially young people should understand that these are kind of marketing strategies or the kind of gimmicks they use to get attracted young people into the habit. And the other thing is that if I give you very few examples, like some people believe that, as you said, so it helps me to escape from the problems I face today. So if I use drugs, so I won't feel anything like that, which is completely wrong, because we have seen many who even after taking the particular drug, preaching and talking and crying about their issues. So it never escapes you from the kind of issues that or the problems that you are facing today. So it's only again a kind of image that build up around the drugs. And the other thing is like that some people believe that so under the influence of the particular drug you are in a kind of nice, pleasant, relaxed mood, which is not. So even at that particular time that people are suffering, and they tell the truth. When they come to counseling, they actually start talking about, yes, I got it and I feel like this, feel like that, all the positive side of it. But if you dig into the experience, they say that, yes, it was so horrible. I feel so bad. I vomited. So I couldn't bear it. So I told my friend I can't take it. That's the truth. But in common, they don't talk about this. It is just like alcohol. You know, alcohol is a depressant. If you take alcohol, that you feel really kind of tired. So after drinking alcohol, you can't sing songs or dance because there is no such chemical in alcohol has properties which make you happy or fun. But it is all the kind of, we call it psychologically today, the kind of learned effects from the society. The chemical effect is different, but the social beliefs is different. So therefore we need to give a kind of support to people to understand the difference between those two things. So that will be very good, and it must come to a kind of dialogue in the daily life and questioning the effect of it.
We're on to our last final minutes. I'd like to ask you, since curbing the war on drugs is a social responsibility and not just the responsibility of the state, what is the particular role of parents in guiding children, role of teachers and educators, and the role of intellectuals? Let's talk a bit about these stakeholders.
Yeah, this is very important because all over the world, through last many years experience, everybody understood that this is a kind of issue that everybody has a kind of responsibility depending on the role and the age and whatever the position is. So therefore, the one big thing is that we should understand whatever the legal or illegal drug, the producers just manufacture it. The promotion and the kind of spreading happen through social media and traditional media both. So the media also has a very responsible role of the talking and the kind of discussing about the issue. Like, if I give an example, that the tobacco and the alcohol promotion start from year 3, because the cartoons has some characters with smoking and alcohol scene. And when they grow older, the films and the other kind of magazines, whatever, everywhere there are some kind of promotion. So the media has a big role to play here. How are they going to talk about this? And the other thing is, as you said, that the professionals and academics must come out with the kind of cost-effective, innovative approaches for the prevention for the particular country, because you can't have a kind of one particular system for the whole world, because the situation, the environments are different. So therefore, depending on the resources we have, the academics, professionals should come up with the kind of innovative, practical system to deal with it. And at the same time, we need a kind of research. It's a kind of costly subject, but we need research to understand the reality of it. And the teachers and parents also have a very big role. What I would like to tell you here is that there are some parents, if they are a bit suspect about their children's behaviors, they are sometimes hiding it, which you shouldn't do that. So you have to open up with the kind of issue, the son or the daughter, that what is happening, and developing a kind of dialogue with them, open up with them to the issues. So because parents can't act as police people, so then it's a kind of headache for young people. So the dialogue and the support, what you have to provide. And at the same time, we should immunize young people in the country to work against this kind of things happening in the country. I know that lots of young people in this country are now fortunately working toward prevention of alcohol, tobacco and other drugs. Right. So then their people get a kind of immunity to understand what is happening. So their role is to protect the least informed, insecure, weak person among the friends. Because we now know by experience that weak personalities, insecure personalities in the society, they are much more vulnerable to these kind of things. So therefore, the young people also should start working. And in my language, I always say that the young people should show the traffickers or the dealers or the companies that they are young enough to deal with it and they like to challenge what they are doing. So, and for the kind of country, I think the Ministry of Education, the health, media, and the public security, everybody has a role to play. And if we play that role, so then we can be a kind of in a better position.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much, Mr. Pubudu Sumanasekaran. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the People's Platform. We'll see you again on Monday with the Sinhala edition of the show. Have a safe weekend. Good night.